So he was talking about, I mean, I can send you these videos. They're on YouTube. He was talking about how a heart is being, when it's been transplanted into another person, how that person would either wake up with like certain cravings. That was one story. And this person never ate this kind of food, and it was specific to KFC food. And then another person just had like certain thoughts or conversation or something like that. And just listening to the whole video helped me to, all of these videos that I'm talking about, it helped me with my money story. Like my money story is pretty good, but pretty good is not good enough.
Yeah.
For me.
Gotta be embodied.
So honestly, I, and this is now, I'm trying to put the words to put it together nicely, but how we talk about understanding things on cellular level. And my fear with that is that, well, what if I forget? But once it's in a cellular level, there's certain triggers that I can trigger that will help me to feel and understand that way. But it really has helped me to understand of how to manifest anything into my life. So for those that are watching, what I will do is to make it easier. I think I saved it on this phone. I have two different phones. So I have different folders and different phones on YouTube. Okay, so this is the one. So the first video, it's called "This Recent Discovery is So Powerful It Defies Belief" by Greg Braden. And in the second video, and those of you that are watching, pause it. You can rewind and write it down. And the second video is called "Scientists," and then in the quotations, "We have never seen anything like this." And then quotation ends. And then Greg Braden. So the first one is 30 minutes and 30 seconds. The second video, and I mean, I like these numbers to me. I'm like, ooh, I like it. And the second video is 29 minutes and 49 seconds. So these two videos I listened to. Now, keep in mind that for me, I've already listened to a lot of different kind of content, and hearing this, to me, this was that tip of the iceberg that has helped me to fully understand it. And I actually created a separate folder called Manifestation Education and Tools. Because in there I put some binaural beats as well for myself, so I can go into this folder, listen to these videos whenever, so I don't have to look for them. And then the other thing I will also add on top of it, because the first thing when any of us are talking about manifestation, most of us think in terms of winning the lottery. Like, that's pretty much everyone. I want to manifest winning the lottery into my life. Okay, great. There's actually a book on that. There's a book on there on Audible about how to manifest in the lottery. And it really, everyone knows this already. It comes down to the feeling.
Yeah.
Which means that whatever it is that you really want, it's not just coming from your mind, and it's not just coming from your mouth, and it's not just coming from your heart. It's coming from your whole entire being, and how you not only show up, but how you also think, and how you talk to the universe around you. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, as coaches, we have learned how to pinpoint the trigger words, those, bad words, those painful words, those powerful words that come across kind of small and minimal. And this is where the realization that I had was that this is the law of attraction. The law of attraction is great, but the law of being, having gone through it, is the next level. And this is exactly what the law of attraction is actually trying to I guess, convey, like get that message across. It just comes down to being. You have to live and be and feel and know that you are a lottery winner in this example, and that you are going to win the lottery, and have the dialogue with yourself. And that is how you're going to attract. But it really comes down to the law of being, because once you are being the lottery winner, then you will be one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. When I took myself through law of being the first time, because I'm going through it now with the group, the first time I was not actually doing the workbook, but I was listening to these CDs and looking at the questions in the workbook and being like, yeah,
I know all those answers.
yeah, like, yeah, I got this. Like, I just went through coach training. But the first time I brought myself through it, I was healing from leaving my ex and the life I had with him in Boston and my whole previous life in Boston. And because I was there for 11 years and I just had to up and leave to heal myself. And so, what I was focusing on, it was really the theater technique that really helps me to embody it and um, come up with an image of what my healed self looked like. And
I
it's
love,
interesting, huh?
I love that tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't find it anywhere else. Just in case anybody's wanting to find that tool online, it's I have not been able to find it anywhere else. Bruce only has put it on CD12, and that's it.
Yeah. And man, it's so helpful. So I would see myself as this confident woman with this beautiful posture, like walking with my shoulders down and back, chest out, and I was so graceful in the theater, um, and it helped. It worked. Like that was my focus, bringing back my confidence, and it showed it the way that I would express that on social media. That's when I began doing my like filming, recording some of my cacao ceremony and just ecstatic dance because that's who I was being in the theater technique. And it hit me. I was like, oh, I'm back. Like, this is who I am. I'm here now. I've embodied this being. And it was amazing. And that embodiment attracted so much into my life. For whatever reason, in the theater technique, I was kind of this like I had like Rasta vibes. I was like reggae priestess vibes, and then I was going to see a lot of reggae, and so that was cool to see how it came into fruition. So now, thinking, all right, when it's time to get back to the theater technique, knowing that it works, how do I connect it with my financial wealth so that I can see myself in the theater technique, loving money, attracting money, feeling comfortable with money, not trusting myself with spending, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you for bringing this up because it's bringing me some clarity of okay, I know it works. What worked for me last time? Focusing on this confidence that I wanted to have back as I was recovering from abuse. Um, so if anyone's watching this and is healing chronic PTSD or complex PTSD, the theater technique is very helpful. And again, it's not available. So yeah, I don't know how else to get it to you.
I mean, honestly, what I would add to what you're saying is really this: the law of being itself is the most powerful program that I have come across.
Mhm.
And I say that, if James is listening, don't ask me questions. Just leave it there. I have gone through and purchased many programs. When I say many, I mean like two handfuls of programs, and I've gone through them. And nothing has come close to me
Yeah.
as the law of being did, because all of the other programs, I'm sorry for anyone that might know I've gone through your program, but they're just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
And and I feel bad saying it because I don't like to talk negatively about anything and any programs or anyone, because it's their crafts. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy to put a program together.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not taking that away. Those programs were awesome. They did what they were supposed to do, which for me was leading me to the law of being. And after the law of being, I the only next thing was like, oh my God, I needed to go to IPEC, because that was a much deeper dive into the law of being, not only for myself, but for people that I've been desiring to help over the years. And the law of being, it's just a really, like I was talking about before, law of attraction. If you really want to um, be the change and you want to live the life that you want to live, law of attraction is great, but that is the first step. The next step is the law of being, because that is when you are actually being and you're living in who you are and you're owning who you are. So, in other words, invest in yourself and get the program, which comes with the bonus CD 12. That is the theater technique that we're talking about. But there's 11 CDs that will help you to go deep into yourself. And every time I listen to it, and I still do, it's been almost 2 years now. Um, yeah, I think it's been almost 2 years now. And I still listen to it every time. And every time I listen to it, I always hear it in a new way. The same thing that's being said. I don't know what it is. There's something magical to this program. And that's why you went through the first time. I didn't finish the first time I was doing the program. I did not finish the workbook for CD 10 and 11. And
So is that being well? Or one of those being well?
then everything, the last one is just like incorporation of everything and being the change, right? And I listened to the CDs. I'm like, I don't need to do the workbook. So have I done the workbook for those two last ones? I'm not gonna lie, I haven't. I haven't. Um, I have, but I haven't, because the way I did it was like reading the question and then answering it to myself in the video, because I wasn't being lazy. So I was still doing it, but not in the way that I know actually works, which is writing it out,
Yeah.
because there is something to writing it that attaches and deeply ingrains into our mind. So I didn't do that part. But because now I'm taking my group through this program, as we get to that city, to those cities, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna actually write it out, because I know the difference that it makes. And the way that I can explain that everyone will understand is like when you want to get your body into a certain shape or feel a certain way in your body or look a certain way in your body, by you're not going to get there by watching exercise and fitness videos. You're not. You're going to get there by actually doing the work, by following what the instructors are saying to you in those videos. That is how you're going to get to that body that you want. Your mind is your body. It's your biggest body, in my opinion. And if you want that body to be the way that you want it to be, you're not going to get there by avoiding doing things, by avoiding doing the work that is required to help you to get to that shape of the mind that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. The mind processes and creates on a quantum level. And that's why I love the law of being so much. It gets right in there at the quantum level and like looks at each little thought, tiny thought that we have at the point that it becomes a thought. And just like in quantum physics, like that point then becomes a wave. So it's like what the law of being does really well is it shows us how our thoughts determine our emotions. And then our emotions determine how we show up in the world. So going through this process, it's like going through the hard drive of our mind with a fine tooth comb, looking a piece by piece, like through each um, dimension of our lives, whether it's health and wellness, finances, our happiness, our consciousness, and just really making sure we are aware of every story we've told ourselves and every block we're creating for ourselves, and then connecting it to the pattern that develops as a result from having that one thought. So yeah, it's just, yeah, we would talk about these kinds of changes taking place on a cellular level all the time, and that's really what this program is so great at. And something that I really appreciate as well is how IPEC teaches modalities like affirmations. And this has to do with the law of being as well. So when we in the first module did the I am statements based on our values. So we had a list of our values, whether it's community, peace, family, trust, whatever it is. And we would write I am, and then we would write the noun form. So it'd be like, I am confidence. So back when I was like really working on confidence, I am confidence. So I got really clear on what confidence symbolized to me in terms of frequency. So that when I said it, I was saying I am, and then I was stating a frequency. And so that's really what the program helps with every word, every thought we have. They're all, words are just symbols, and it's really the frequency, the vibration that creates the energy. So I just respect that process so much because it gets me really clear, like, what is, okay, I know the word peace. I know peace is a value of mine. I love peace. I love inner peace. Pray for outer peace for the world. So what does peace mean? What does it symbolize? So I go in and get really clear on that frequency so that when I say I am peace, I am telling myself, my body, my cells, my mind, my heart, that I am the frequency that the word peace represents to me.
I like how you shared that it's about you. It's about who you are, your values, and understanding yourself. And in understanding yourself, you are pinpointing the most powerful words that define who you are, and then embrace them. Well, first of all, understand what they actually mean to you. Because what peace means to you does not mean and the same thing means to me that what peace means to me, right? Or to somebody else. So these words that help us to define who we are, understanding what they mean, and then embodying them by putting the I am statement in front of it, right? I am this, because I am is the most powerful two words that any one of us can say. We've all heard this, that whatever follows the I am is basically the manifestation itself. And this is where it can be very challenging when the gremlin comes up and you're not prepared. You don't have the tools to help you work through it. And I can say that because I lived that way for many years, where I had this voice in my head that kept telling me and limiting me in every way possible. And I didn't know what it was, I didn't know how to deal with it. And I would just ignore it. And we all know what happens with anyone that is ignored. They just get louder and louder and louder and louder until you submit, until I submit it. So in uncovering who I was, and then finding these words that really help to define who I was, and then putting the I am statement in front of it, that's what allows us to really embody it and understand it on the cellular level, because we get to sit with it and feel it. And what does it feel like? And then the more we practice that feeling, the easier it will be to anchor ourselves with just the word, right? I am peace. And it's like, ooh, yes, I am. You don't even have to go through the whole exercise to be peace, to, to invite it in. You are peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That sums it up.
Right? And that's where a little bit of the law of attraction can be incorporated as well, right? Because most people are familiar with the law of attraction. Actually, I think everyone is familiar with the law of attraction.
Yeah, it's definitely picked up popularity in recent years.
Yeah, it definitely has. It went from whispers of a law of attraction to the law of attraction,
Yeah.
the secret. But what they're all of these law of attraction experts are telling you is the key is to embody it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you love attraction, you're gonna love the law of being. If you don't like the law of attraction, you might like the law of being, because to me, they do kind of work together in a way, and yet they're very different.
Mm-hmm.
Because the approach is very different from the law of being. Let's start with ELI, for example, right? That is something quantifiable, is the word that comes to mind, right?
Totally.
That's where Bruce, with his team, spent a lot of time making sure that what came to him in a dream, quite literally in meditation, right, when he woke up in the morning and it all came to him, he spent time with his team making sure it works the way that it was meant to work. And guess what? It does. Mm-hmm. And what that tool does, it everyone that takes this assessment gets to see how their energy is showing up. And it's a physical thing to see, and you can't deny it unless you were lying on a test on the assessment. Then even then, you can still see that there's some truth that's going to come out of there. But when I saw my results, I'm like, oh, I knew it. It just sucks that somebody else knows.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was something that the law of being helped me with, that the law of attraction wasn't quite getting there. So with the law of attraction, I kept hearing, all right, like it's like both are about energy, and both are discuss how everything is energy, and like energy attracts like energy. And something that kept frustrating me with law of being, law of attraction, was that I was like, well, why do I keep attracting people who take advantage of me and manipulate me? I'm not being that energy, so why am I attracting that? I'm focusing on, uh, I was focusing my attention on desired feelings and core values, yet I seem to be surrounded by people who, yeah, like had their hooks in me and no, well, while also being surrounded by other people just like me. But I was still attracting a lot of energy vampires. It was like, what's the deal? So the ELI assessment and law of being really helped me to see that, well, yes, you are going to attract people just like you. You're also going to attract people who prey on that kind of energy, and unless you learn these different ways of being. So, for example, being like level 5 is kind of my symbol for or the frequency that I attach to the word discernment. So, if I need to access discernment because I'm attracting too many energy vampires, then I'll tap into my level 5 capabilities and give myself permission to do that. So that's something that I love about the quantifiable nature of the ELI and the law of being is it's this data set. Data. I love data because it tells the truth. And so it's this set of data, and that's me. I'm looking at it. It's me. And then with that set of data, then I have a choice to respond differently in situations. And so yeah, it it gives me permission really because I have this knowledge now. Like I've always been a deep feeling person, and I didn't have the knowledge to pair with it to give me permission to be in my feelings and express my feelings and set boundaries. So having this set of data and this knowledge base to say, at least to myself, when setting boundaries, it's not personal, it's vibrational. I prefer to stay within 4, 5, 6, 7, and interactions with this person keep resulting in my contracting to level 1. So that's nothing personal. It's just a pattern that I've now detected, and now I have a choice. And yeah, and it just kind of detaches any emotion to patterns so that I could just see them as patterns. Understand that when we change patterns, it's natural for emotions, difficult emotions to come through us, but it's okay, and it's okay. And it results in growth and a change in the on a quantum physical level. Like it's a micro moment where we can choose between a default tendency and a resonant tendency. And that resonant tendency is our highest potential, our truest selves. The default's just the pattern that's been programmed into us by the time we're 7 or 8 years old. So just having that knowledge, the quantifiable knowledge to look at my patterns, like, okay, 4141. Okay, I see what's going on here. Why I keep getting in these patterns in this relationship, and maybe not every relationship, but really just fine tuning uh, every relationship and moment, like moment by moment. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So what I really am hearing you say right now, especially in comparison to the law of attraction, is the law of attraction primarily teaches you, okay, you identify this thought that is not serving you, now change it. But it's easier said than done, because if we have been programmed to think in a certain way, when we change it to a new thought, that new thought is not necessarily the one that we actually want.
Right. Yep.
That one could be actually a lot more damaging than the initial one that you had. The way that I can describe it is like when when I go out there and I talk to people, people used to always call me positive, optimistic, and now I'm that times 10. But and I say this because, and I'm using myself as an example in this scenario, because as a coach that I am now, when I go back and I listen to myself talking before, inspiring or motivating people, it listening back, it was not inspiring and motivating. It was not, because there was a lot of how do I put it? It's like you're doing this, but you should be doing that, right? This is not working for you. Well, you know what? Why don't you go and do it like this? And the way that it would come across is like if that was somebody talking to me that way, without recognizing it, it would add messages to my gremlin. I guess that's the best way to explain it. And that was my way of inspiring and motivating someone by actually doing more damage than good and adding to their inner negative critic that they already had. Mm-hmm. Whereas now, that's why now being so aware of the language, and not only the language, but how to shift it in the way that it's actually going to work. And I've only been able to get that through the law of being. Mm-hmm. And hear myself back. And even when I hear people talk, I'm like, oh my God, I can't hear it. I don't want to hear it. That is not inspiring and motivating, because all I hear is jab, 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 jab. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh God, no, that person, they have no idea that these positive messages are actually negative.
Yeah. Oh, well, I have so much compassion for your former self, because that's exactly like what we do until we learn the skills of a coach. Yeah. Like I did until I went through coach training, I was doing the same thing because things were working for me. And then I would tell people, well, just do this. And I would be telling people like, well, choose love-based thoughts instead of fear-based thoughts, like things like that. And people were like, what? Like, okay, it's that easy. Because for me, that information came along at a point in my life where I was ready for it and it was working for me. And I think that happens a lot when something works for us, we want to share it. And until we really learn what holding space means, and witnessing someone and acknowledging and validating their truly difficult experience, we don't know that we might be adding to what they're already, the burden that they're already carrying, because what they might be hearing is, I'm not good enough.
Yeah. And the other thing that I would add to it is labels.
Yeah.
In this inspiring, motivating conversations that I've had with people, labels can come through. And it's important to actually not put labels on one another, because then we become those labels. Mm-hmm. It starts with, I mean, it's really difficult to pinpoint what labels are in the beginning. Yeah. But the more you do it, the more clear it will be to you when you will hear it when yourself think that you are about to put a label on someone, and you recognize and you stop yourself before you do it. So, for example, with kids, right? You're so lazy. Why don't you pick up after yourself? Right? See, you don't want to do your homework. That just, that's what lazy people do. Again, not directed at a child, but saying lazy people do what you're doing, which basically, how does a child hear, or any human being for that matter, forget that it's a child, any human being will hear it as this is how lazy people do things because the conversation is directed at that person. So they automatically assume that they are being called lazy without anyone having to say you are lazy. And then guess what's going to happen? They will become lazy
Mm-hmm.
without even knowing it because we are the programmers, but the bigger programmers are out there touching the keys and sending all these codes to the computer system. And the computer system takes time to understand what those codes are. And then by the time it understands what those codes are, it becomes those codes and it lives those codes. And then, which means then the computer becomes aware of these codes. And once you become aware, then it's like, okay, well, I get it. Now what?
Yeah.
Now what do I do? And
Uh,
that's where most people are stuck.
yeah. Yep. This is just making me think about how vulnerable our psyches are and how important it is. Like you speak about this all the time about decluttering the headspace, and that could include friends and anyone. Like that's part of why I also really appreciate the ELI and just the energy leadership system is because it gives me just a direct view. If I'm watching codependent patterns, for example, and I can say this because I've lived them, and I don't want to go back there. So if I'm watching a level 4 person, someone who's generally level 4 with in a relationship with someone who's generally level 2 or level 3 or level 1, I know that level 4 person's gonna hit level 1 because nobody else is picking up the opportunity vibe and attempting to intuit the needs of others. And so I can watch these patterns now more objectively and then choose, oh, I prefer not to have that in my feedback loop, because my feedback loop I work hard to purify. If I recognize that, sometimes I'll be scrolling social media, put it down, and be shocked by how peaceful it is the moment I put it down and how much noise it was creating in my mind. And it's those kinds of moments that are such amazing opportunities to really reflect on what we're allowing into our feedback loops. Because that, like, oh, you're lazy. That could be your feedback loop might be like, ah, life is joyful. Ooh, look at that plant. I'm just sitting here with my plant watching it grow. What are you doing? Pick up, around you. You're lazy. And then it's like, plant, lazy, I'm lazy, I'm lazy, plant, I'm lazy. Oh, I really enjoyed watching that plant, but now I'm lazy. It's that fragile. And it could be that, just a moment. Like, I wish I could share or like project what I'm seeing, but just like picturing this like pure harmonic mind and then like an uninvited gremlin that's like, oh, like eating all the positive, happy thoughts.
Yeah. I guess the way that I would describe it, it's funny you bring that up because I was just looking at my plants over here that I have, and I'm loving it and adoring it and everything. And then I see that the leaves are turning a little yellow. I'm like, oh, I'm so lazy. I haven't watered it and this and that. And I'm like, oh. And then this is where I'm like, no, no, no. I'm gonna water it later. I'm not lazy. I'm I'm forgetful because then another message comes in, right? And then you work through that one. Okay, well, you're not forgetful. You are just careless, right? And then work through that message. And that's the thing. These messages can be multi-layered because you work through one, another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And then by the end, sometimes I'm like, part of my language. I'm like, fuck, but I'm fucking exhausted. I feel like I just ran a marathon. Why don't I look like I ran a marathon? Because in here, I run marathons every single day and it's exhausting, right? But guess what? This is how it was in the beginning, like really, really straining. But little by little, day by day, it became effortless. Where now I find myself at level 1. This morning, perfect example. I did not want to do anything. I I am tired. I'm lazy. I don't feel like doing it. I don't want to. A lot of like shitty I ams. And I just want to sit here and do nothing. I want to watch my RuPaul show. I want to do that. I don't want to do this. And I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do anything. And I'm like, wait a minute. So this is me now at level 1. How can I? Because I also don't like being used by these levels. So this is the best thing that the best thing that ever happened to me was working with my coach and my coaches now is that when I am at level 1, I find a way of how I can use it, how I can use the level 1 and not level 1 use me, because that is a huge, huge difference between the two. When I am being used by level 1, I'm consumed by level 1 and I am drained. And for me, what that looks like is sitting and doing nothing, just like in the dark hole. And how I use level 1 is okay, so this is that. Okay, great. So where do I go from here? How can not only I benefit from it, but how can I bring value to those around me? So what did I do? I pulled out my phone and for 49 minutes and 49 seconds, I poured my heart out, shared what was going on in here and in here, and and also letting everyone know, because I'll be posting this video after, no promises as to when, um, of that disconnect and how I was able to just use the level 1 instead of it being using me.
Yes.
That is the key to the law of being, right? You become, because I guess that's another way to explain the ELI and how the law of being work together. You go through the ELI, you see your energy levels, you physically see them, and then you have an expert energy leadership master practitioner take you through the debrief process to help you understand all these levels and help you love the levels. And then as you're going through the law of being, you get to not only recognize how these levels are showing up, but the choices that you have at each level and how you can actually make them work for you and not against you, which is where awareness comes in. And through the law of being, you actually get to learn how to use the levels instead of being used by them. And the key to going through the law of being is going through the law of being, listening to the cities, doing the workbook, and working with a coach. I mean, without a coach, you can still get incredible results. You just need to be consistent with showing up for yourself. But with a coach, they're going to keep you accountable. And they're going to take you through exercises that are the key exercises in the actual workbook.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, did that help everyone to understand a little bit more of the law of being and the great power that it actually holds in terms of this energy and something quantifiable you can walk away with? Because haven't seen anything with the law of attraction. And that's not to bash the law of attraction. It's an incredible tool or program, right? Incredible. It is key to manifestation. Just the law of being is a much deeper dive into embodying the law of attraction and being law of attraction, I guess.
Yeah, it's just so efficient. Like 16 weeks and you've mastered 7 levels of energy. It's just so cool. There was so much in what you said. I was taking notes and I heard this. I was like, uh-oh, there's another workshop in here that wants to come out. So let's get that cooking. But something that just kept coming up was, what if, when we're talking about labels, what if the label is just human and everything? So going back to the plant, like, oh, I'm lazy, I'm forgetful, I'm careless, or you're human. Humans historically forget to feed our plants. We all do it from time to time. Also, something that I loved is this thought. This is my favorite thing to teach, is just awareness of who we are, of who we're being at each level without judgment. That's the key. And that's what I heard when you witness yourself at level 1 this morning. You're like, oh, this is me now. I'm here now. And that is the key. When we can witness ourselves at these different levels, at the catabolic levels of energy, which are just, there's just 2 levels, levels 1 and 2. 3 has a little bit of catabolic energy, but mostly just level 1 and 2, which makes sense because it's related to our primal instincts of fight or flight. So yeah, when we're not really under direct threat and we're using levels 1 and 2, we can pause and think, okay, this is me. I know who I am at level 1. When I'm at level 1, I sound in my head like a complete brat. Like, why doesn't anybody check in on me? Why do I have to be the one to check in on? I like hear it so clearly, and I'm like, oh, there she goes. She's gonna be here for I don't know, who knows, couple hours. We'll see. Hopefully not longer than.
I've heard you share many times now, and I wanted to point that out now in case somebody's landing on this video for the first time, is that this is what you were used to being called growing up.
A brat. Yep.
So
Yep.
it's only normal for you to be calling yourself a brat because you have been programmed for how many years to see yourself as a brat. So then, the bratty self comes out and starts talking in the way that a brat would.
Oh, yep, yep. And it's funny because the voice um may have been kind of in what's that movie? Incepted. Incepted into me, because whenever my oldest brother, who would call me a brat all the time, would imitate me or mock me, he would use this voice of like Rachel's like meh 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 meh. And I was like, oh God, that's how I sound. I thought that was how I sounded in those moments. When really, more realistically, I was probably just straightforward pointing out truth that he didn't like to hear.
Yeah.
So instead, he would call me a brat, and so I internalized it. So yeah, when I'm at level 1, I hear the brat. I hear all these. That's one voice. Sometimes it's like, I give up. I'm exhausted. I quit. I give up. I give up at life. I give up. I surrender. I'm done. Um, which might be a little bit more level 2, because there's like a little bit of like, fuck this in there. Like, I am sick and tired of this fucking shit. So but just being, like, give me here one more time. That's what my level 2 is, just like, so, but yeah, witnessing ourselves at these levels is the key, and just like, that's where I'm at. And I know the tools to get out of it. It's just a matter of, am I going to use them? Or also tracking. Something that's been really helpful has been tracking how long I've been there, and saying, okay, you know what? Had this happened a year ago, I probably would have been there for a week. This time, I was only there for 24 hours. I woke up the next day and I was like, yo, it ain't no thing. We got, like, I was there yesterday. Nope. Part of it too is just getting over the guilt and shame of having dipped there.
Yeah.
And that's what this whole process has helped me with. It's again human. We all use it. So what? I contracted to level 1. I was a crybaby for a couple of hours. And now that I know my cycles, not just woman monthly cycles, but emotional cycles and productivity cycles, creativity cycles, when I'm at level 1, are using level one, thank you for that. Um, I know I have this understanding. It's just a cycle, and it won't last forever. And look at me here, like I also find it very amusing seeing myself there and seeing just how much in despair I I've become. I see myself in despair, and I'm like, girl, you made it through way worse. And then the me that's experiencing the despair is like, no, this is the worst. Even though I know I've been through way worse.
Yeah.
So it's just, again, just seeing ourselves there and having the us who's there, and then the higher self who can witness us there with love and compassion, and also see it as a seed. Like, I now think of level one as a seed with so much potential for growth. Like,
Mhm.
there's, I picture an actual seed, like the seeds that I'm most familiar with are cannabis seeds, because that's what I spent the most time nurturing and germinating. And it's just so amazing. All that DNA is within that seed, and with enough nurturing and care and tenderness and love, it grows into this miraculous plant. So, as you were describing your process of experiencing level one and then funneling it into your video, that's creativity. And that this is where my, like, ooh, another workshop idea came up, is that it's medicine for level one, taking action, being creative, just anything that involves action. It's like a springboard to propel out of that level one and really, yeah, channel it like it is a seed, like nurture it. What's in there? Like, I know the greatest grief I've ever felt revealed to me my life's path. And in that grief, like, it was probably a week straight of just crying, sobbing, deep sobs, just every night, despair. And I fully felt it and went deep enough to understand there was also guilt and shame there. And I understood that the patterns that led to the events that caused the grief and guilt and shame. And then getting to a point of radical acceptance of, you know what? All I've got is now. So I can't go back and change the past, but I can show up now. And over time, maybe this is how this person will remember me. This has to do with a relationship with my brother. So maybe, my brother will remember me as a champion instead of someone who naysayed and criticized him. And so is that who I had been as a naysayer, that was bringing that grief and guilt and shame. Like, how could I have not shown up for him as a sister? And so I experienced so much level one because of these thoughts, like replaying like mini movies, interactions between the two of us in my head for like a week straight. I could not stop torturing myself with those thoughts until I used it as a seed for growth, and enrolled in coach training, because I've mentioned this before, but just knowing he might not ever hire himself a coach, but I can become a coach and then just show up in his life. And yeah, so level one. It's so cool that this came up, because this is what my group focused on in our group session on Thursday. We just went through part three. So during our session, we went a bit deeper into each level, and I spent a lot of time talking about why we use it. So the advantages and disadvantages. And that's how I really became comfortable and compassionate with myself when I'm experiencing level one, is look, this is why you use it. I use it because I get sympathy. I don't have to take action when I'm at level one. Other people will do things for me. When I express level one, my partner will put on his level four and care for me, I love that. Who wouldn't? So just seeing ourselves and realizing we're human. Of course, we use level 1 when we want someone else to pay attention and support us. And we're just not feeling the confidence to tap into level 5 and attract support from that place. So we default to the way we learned as children how to attract support. And it's human.
I mean, some children, when they're little, they would faint. They'll hold their breath, faint to get attention. And some of them never grow out of that because that that was a tool they learned from a young age that gave them everything they wanted.
Yep.
The attention, the love, the care, the baby, or whatever came with it. Every parent is different. And because it worked for them so well for so many years, why on earth would they want to get rid of it? They wouldn't. They'd want to hold on to that. When we find tools that work for us, we keep them.
Yep.
Not old tools, but great tools.
Exactly. I mean, even now as you're describing it, I'm like, my mom, like when I would not faint, but hyperventilate. I still do it to this day. Like if I get caught up in my thoughts and I start panicking, I'll still do it because it works when I was a kid. It worked when I was in my 20s and I just pop a lorazepam and I was like, ooh, like once I started being prescribed pharma, I no longer had to work through it to figure out how to self-soothe. I could just keep popping these pills and I was like, yeah. So then it became this like, oh, if I keep doing this, I keep getting drugs from CVS and that's cool. So it's still like to this day, it's so interesting to think like, how did we get our care then? And that was, I was, there's depending on where we find our information, I learned of a situation or a model of in a family where there's a golden child, a scapegoat, and an invisible child. And I was the invisible child. So I would um, either hide in my room until somebody came and checked on me, which sometimes it was a busy household, sometimes it would take a while, or I would start hyperventilating and having panic attacks. And then it would result in my mom being like, oh, let's watch movies. And she would comfort me and pet me like I'm a cat. And so it was just lovely. And so thinking about it, of course we would use that. What would happen if I used level 5? Then my mom would think I don't need her. And that's another real fear is we want people to feel like we need them. So when we show up with our needs fully met, and if the people in our lives still use codependent patterns for relationship purposes, then who knows?
Yeah, that's a great point because what if everyone who is watching and listening right now, if you took a couple of minutes to take stock of all of these friendships that you have, all of these relationships that you have, and see how you're showing up and how they're showing up, and which one of your friends are actually like don't need you, and not in the bad way, but in the good way where you show up for them and they show up for you, but really you're showing up for yourself and they're showing up for themselves, and you are feeling completely connected without having to prove yourself, win anything. I mean, I challenge you with that because that is something that I did myself, and I've noticed just how many friends in my life were dependent. And if I said one thing that was in their eyes a wrong thing, that they would spiral out of control, and which would send me spiraling out of control. And being a recovered people pleaser, it can be very challenging to not jump in and want to make it better for that person and fix everything and take everything away. And it's like, give me your life, let me fix it for you and give it back to you when you want. It's kind of like, reminds me of this dog training where a trainer takes the dog, breaks it somewhere else, trains it, and then gives it back to the owner, where the owner has actually missed the key ingredient of, how the F did you get my dog to this point? I want to know. So that way I can better maintain it. So as much as I would love to do that for people, take their life and rearrange it in the way that I believe would work for them and then give it back, I can guarantee you it will make things worse. It will not fix anything for them. It will be that much harder, because then they'll be like, oh my God, there's nothing of my life left in here. What the hell did you do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Some people are not ready to face certain things that aren't serving them, and it all's got to come from within the uncovering.
In the right time.
Yeah.
Because the life that we all have a vision of where we want to be, what kind of life we want to have. And in order for us to get there, we have to go through the school. We have to go through training and learn what it takes to be that version of ourselves.
Yep.
Some people can go, they can quantum jump from where they are now. Within months or a year, they are where they want to be. And I admire those people, but most people, and that is a very small percentage, probably like less than 1%, that are actually able to do, like, get all of their shit together within a year. Because most people take years to get there, because it has taken them years to get to where they are. So they go fairly back in time and start working through these patterns that are showing up. Like what you were talking about, the bratty voice that was coming up, that's not you. That was put there by you. But you can't just say, oh, it's not mine. Okay, bye. Never gonna hear you again. No, because it's gonna continue to show up. How many years have we been hearing that voice? So it's going to continue to show up until you check her at the door.
Yeah.
Right? The way I like to say it. I like humor. Right? I like humor. So it's like, check that bitch at the door.
Yeah.
Don't let her come in. And if she's not being the bitch that you want her to be, say bye.
I'll bring her with, I'll take her under my wing. Like, look, I know you really are stuck on this story that you're a brat and your brother was the golden child and you were invisible, but there's all these other stories out there that you might like better. Come with me and just show her, instead of struggling to face her. Like before working with a coach and going through this, I really struggled to face my shadows. Anything that I felt shame, especially shame, I think we all experience this with shame and guilt, but anything that brought up feelings of shame, I was like, nuh-uh, not me. Nope, 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 nope. And thanks to this and being and understanding, oh, shame is a level 1 emotion. It just comes up when we're contracted so tight that not a lot of light can get in. So when we're there, all these thoughts have access to our brains and all the gremlins come up, and it's like a field day because we've contracted so far. A field day for the gremlins and all those feelings, and just being there and understanding too that this is another something else that just helped me so much with energy leadership and the law of being, and really internalizing the concept that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transformed. So level 1, I'm not going to get rid of it. And why would I want to?
You're the one to. It's awesome.
I don't think we would survive as a species if we lost our 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. We would just be like chilling, and who knows what environmental catastrophes or whatever might happen. And without levels 1 and 2, we'd probably just be chill with it all and our species would go extinct. So we need those survival instincts. So I wouldn't want to get rid of them altogether. I just want to become more efficient at transmuting them by choice when I feel like it. So if I'm at level 1 and I'm like, you know what, I'm looking around, this is taking a toll on my partner, this is taking a toll on my community, I think it's time for me to funnel it into creativity. And what does creativity inspire? Joy, passion, purpose. And therefore I'm expanded and wisdom's coming through because it's a result of level 6. And so just keeping in mind that it's expansion, contraction, no judgment. When we breathe, we expand and contract. And so our emotions, we could just think it's just us breathing through these levels of energy until we choose to resonate within one that will serve us in any given moment.
Yeah. And when I was hearing you talk about if we got rid of level 1, level 2, dodo bird came to mind. Like I remember in Ice Age where you see these dodo birds just like, wee, jumping off the cliff like nothing, you know? That's what it made me feel like, if the survival of the species that's the other thing that you said. And that's why dodo bird came to mind, that there's no more dodo birds. And I mean, the only dodo birds I see now are it's like it's a brand where you see all these animals and they're really cute. And dodo on Facebook, you see like this dodo videos where they'll show like let's say a puppy that they found, and they heal it and recover it and bring it back to health or nurture it. And that's what you were seeing. Like that's what I would get to see through the dodo bird. But with the energy levels, if we got rid of level 1 and 2, that's pretty much how I think it would be.
Yeah, we wouldn't give a shit. We're just like, wee, life is so great. Yeah.
You fly until splat.
We wouldn't care about, I mean, we might care about humanitarian crises because we still have that level 4.
I think it'd be hard to kind of understand level 4 without level 1 and 2.
That's it.
Level 4 would be gone as well.
Yep.
And level 3, because you don't have, see, and that's the beauty of the human emotion. There's so much depth to each and every emotion that if we didn't have level 1 and 2, or even level 1, we wouldn't have level 3, we wouldn't have level 4. And there would be no point of level 5, 6, and 7, really, because all of them they're attached to one another. Like if I did not have access to level 1, I would not have gone through my experiences. I would not be here. I would not be doing this, right? Level 2, the same thing. If I didn't have access to level 2 and I never got angry over the things that happened in my life, I wouldn't, like, honestly, like, it's really difficult to think if we didn't have this bad emotions. But really what they are doing is all of these bad and negative feelings and emotions are just reminding us of what the one true emotion, love. Because the way we can fully understand love is in relation to everything else.
It reminds me of, I'm going to try to find it. It might take a while to find. It reminds me of that page in the Law of Being where it goes through the flags. And it was like, fear.
Actually, I think I have it on my board here.
Oh, awesome.
Figure it out. And I was just looking at it. I mean, I wasn't actually even looking at it. I just saw it. And I put it here. I think that's here. Yeah, flags. I don't know if you can.
Yeah.
So fear, love, anger, guilt, sadness.
Yep.
And all of them, fear is actually born out of love. For a sentence, love is all there is. First sentence. Anger is born out of love of self or others. First sentence. Guilt helps you decide who you are.
That
Love again. Sadness and grief remind you about the nature of love and to appreciate the gifts of life. First sentence. Like right to the point. It's just everything is in relation. When you're feeling sad because or grief because you feel like you lost something.
yeah.
You feel like you lost something because you feel like you lost love. That's why so many people are scared of love because they don't want to lose them in the end. But that is the best. Sorry, that is the one thing that any. I mean, the word thief comes to mind. Stolen.
Mm.
That you're stealing from yourself.
Mm.
That experience of love, there's nothing else that compares to it. So why would we not want to experience sadness and grief? Because it really just reminds us how powerful love is. Or guilt. I mean, it's crappy feeling these feelings, but they really just remind us of how much we want more love in our life and how we have it all within ourselves.
Yeah. I want to see if I can find this poem real quick.
Mhm.
Aha, yeah. So I like have notes all over the floor right now. Yeah, spilled out. Um, but this book, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, um, has this part where so everybody in the town is asking the prophet, tell us about this, tell us about this. So someone asks the prophet, tell us about joy and sorrow.
Mm.
So I'll read it. It's quick. So then a woman said, speak to us of joy and sorrow. And he answered, your joy is your sorrow unmasked,
Mm.
and the self same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Some of you say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at a standstill in balance. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall.
I love that. And really, what it's saying is that they are one. One cannot exist without the other, just like you cannot have light without darkness. And if everything was always dark, you wouldn't even know what the light was. You know one in relation to the other, right? Winter and summer, they're not opposites. They are one. They are all connected with the spring and the fall in between, right? To kind of soften the blow. Because if we go from hot summer one day and the next day it's freezing cold, that might be a little bit too much for the system to take. But this is where the quantum jumping, right? I mean, it's possible.
It's kind of what our seasons are turning into.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
But I'm thinking of like plus 40 degrees outside with humidity to minus 30. Those are, or minus 40. Sometimes it gets to minus 40 here. Those are like, if I went one day plus 40 and the next day minus 40, that would be, I mean, that's a lot. But that is why, like, all of us, like, thinking of, again, back to that vision of yourself where you want to be, that can be used as an example. Right now, you might be in the winter in minus 40 and you want to get to plus 40. And if you jump right then and there, you've missed the other season that helps you to get there, that eases you in and gets you prepared physically, mentally, and emotionally for that heat. Because if you don't go through the preparation, you're just going to burn out, and you'll still get there and feel like this is not what I wanted. Because you haven't taken the time to appreciate that journey. That's what that is. And that's why in certain cases that's not really possible, where you go from one version to the next version, even though it might look like that for many people, where one day you're this person and the next day, oh my god, you're somebody else. But the journey is still there that helped that person to get to that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The journey will always be there, full of tools. Like, that's the most amazing part. We can always look back at our journey and see moments when we called on the wisdom within and use that to propel us forward. And we always have those moments as tools.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things that I wrote down in here. High energy levels require rest. What that really means is that the highs and lows, we're all going to have that. So if, let's say today you're feeling tired and drained and overwhelmed and you just need rest, that's your body telling you need that, because chances are the days leading up to it, you have expelled a lot of energy, whether you were like overly excited, overly motivated, or you poured your heart out, or you've had an absolutely incredible conversation with someone. You exerted yourself to a point where you need the time to recharge that battery. And the reason why I wrote this down is because this question I had in my head is, what are the triggers or things that happen in our life that bring us to those levels, level 1 and 2, that most of us don't appreciate and don't want to have. And the more that you don't want certain things in your life, the more they seem to come up into your life. But the more you want them, you're like, okay, she can want me a little bit longer and I'll come. Right? So that was one thing that I wrote down, that is like basically like a trigger that brings me to level 1. And what else was there? Social media, because you did mention it earlier. You were talking about social media, how the moment you put down that phone, all of a sudden you feel free and you can breathe and everything is quiet.
Yeah.
So for me, social media is a huge one. And I have recognized that 2 or 3 years back. And this is when I didn't even know what boundaries were, but I did set that boundary with myself, is that I'm the only time I will go on social media is what you and I often describe as the overflow.
Yeah, nice.
I go on social media and even communicate with people.
Nice.
Through messages, because I mean, from Thursday, I've been receiving messages and I have not had the energy nor the desire to respond to them. And these people know that I will respond to them when I'm in the right place. And if I'm not there, it's nothing personal. It's the boundaries that I set for myself, because to me, one of the most important things is to take care of my family. And in order for me to take care of my family, I must take care of myself first. Because if I am not taking care of myself, then I am not fully available for my family, which is really a selfless thing to do. because I'm putting my family first, but in order for them to be first, I must be first.
Yeah.
So it's like one, and then they are 1.1.
Yeah. You said something that I just wanted to touch back on, and now I'm completely blanking on it because because family brought me to a whole other topic, but I don't know. Maybe it'll come up. Maybe it'll come up within the next week or so. Um, yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't know. It has to do with experiencing those highs. Oh, I know what it okay. This is what I wanted to mention. So for anyone who is watching, listening, any of those people who understand energy and recharging and that might take us some time to respond, I just want to send my deepest thanks and gratitude for your patience and understanding. Something that I hope we can collectively change is using the phrase "I'm sorry" or using the word "sorry" when we mean "thank you." And I find that a lot of people, I'm someone who deeply understands if it takes you some time to get back to me. I interpret the gap in communication as you're on to something, like either you're in a creative zone or you're taking care of your family or taking care of yourself, um, or maybe you forgot, but it's nothing personal. And so whenever anyone gets back to me and says, "Oh, I'm sorry," I want to like switch. I'm like, no, there's no reason that you owe me an apology. And so thank you. Yeah, just thank you to everyone watching who is that kind of friend who, you know, you can just show up in each other's lives even after not talking for months and pick up right where you last picked up without any hard feelings, without any misinterpretations playing tricks, making us think that we're less than or whatever because there's been a gap in communication, because time is an illusion. And so if we can keep meeting in those higher energy states with those people that we vibe with, our soul tribe, that's so beautiful. And even if we meet, witness one another in the struggle, um, that's also beautiful. But I'm just so appreciative. The more that I've set boundaries and have grown and have received all sorts of various reactions and responses to my boundaries. The relationships that I have today are with people who have responded with encouragement to my boundaries, and the people that I am really no longer in communication with are people who have reacted with harshness and volatility and punishment to my boundary setting.
Yeah, and because I take it personally, and I I second that, because in my life I've let people know my reasons and why I don't respond right away, and none of it was about the person ever, because it never is. It is always about me, as selfish as I am, right? Um, but some people manage to turn that around and make it about them and take it personally. And those are the people that are not in my life, because I'm sorry, but you don't understand me and what it takes to be me and what's important to me and the values that I have in my life and the boundaries that I have in my life. And if you, for a second, if you start putting expectations on me that I've sent you a message and you didn't respond to me right away, when I can see you're active on your social media or like Messenger, the moment I open my phone or I get notification on my phone, it puts me on active. it shows that I'm active. So I see you're active on Messenger. Why are you ignoring me? It's not ignoring. Even when I see that you sent a message and I can see the first sentence, I am not going to jump and respond right away because I know the damage that it will do to me long term, and it will bring me back to level 4 and people pleaser. And I love that. Don't get me wrong. I love taking care of people and helping people, but not on my expense, not the expense of my family. That these healing times, and I'm also an introvert. Believe it or not, I am an introvert, and introverts need time to themselves to be alone. When I mean alone, with no family, with no one, alone. So, as an introvert, it is also important for me to have these alone times and healing times for myself. And as a coach, it's very difficult to have that because I have calls every single day.
Mhm.
So this is where in between I take the time to be by myself with myself. And if people don't understand that, then I'm not for them, right? Then I'm sorry, but it's not going to work out. And I always come from a place, every time somebody else takes time to respond to me, they do actually start with, I'm sorry. Always. And I always tell them, stop apologizing. You sound like my daughter. She's 11 years old and she used to apologize all the time. And it's also a defense mechanism in a way and protection mechanism, what I've noticed, at least with my daughter, right? Um, and it's a way to kind of make yourself feel a little bit better and express that you feel bad, right? And I get that. You don't need to say, I'm sorry, say, thank you for your patience, or just continue the conversation without this filler of, we haven't talked for so long, I'm sorry, but, right? Just
Yeah.
keep going with wherever we left off. And the more I remind these people, the less they apologize.
Mhm. You can say thank you, thank you for taking the time to go deep. Like something, I think this is important for empaths because we are so genuine in our communication and thoughtful. And as our influence grows, so does the number of messages in our, and people open up to us with some really personal, deep stuff. Um,
Which requires coaching sessions.
yeah, like any given day, I'll open my messenger and see. Um, I hope it's okay that I'm contacting you. I just have no one else to talk to about this. And then what it is, and it might be filled with trauma. It's typically filled with some really deep stuff. And when I respond, I want to come from a place that I have fully traveled through their experience of life so that I can come back with some medicine to offer in just this brief chat. And um and it does take time, and I will let them know. I'll let them know, thanks for reaching out, and I'll get back to you, just not at this minute because I want to give it some time to really reflect. And that's what when that's why empaths really gotta use that discernment, because if we are just accessible to anyone at any given time, and we're constantly traveling, feeling through other people's experiences, we're gonna have no time for ourselves.
Mhm.
Connect within and recharge and be able to offer from that overflow.
Yeah, it becomes another way, like another visual, I guess, scenario that I saw was like a marathon runner. If you're running all the time without a moment to sit down and breathe and calm your system down, you're not going to be running for a very long time, right? And that's what it also comes down to, because if we as coaches are always on, always running and running and running and running and running, and don't take these very important, very valuable, and very um, um, like because these times we always come out of these times with something, realizations, awarenesses, lessons, value. Because from these times, that's the word I was looking for. From these times of quietness and stillness and just being with yourself, we always walk out with value. And that's why it's important to take these times for ourselves. And I used to feel very guilty of not responding to people right away. I felt like I was ignoring people, but it was not ignoring, and it still is not ignoring. Some people might see it as ignoring, but it's not. And it's not that, and it's not to say that what you're messaging me about is not important. It's that I I do what I do on my timetable because I know how it works. So let's say the scenario that you brought up, somebody sends a message with a lot of heaviness in it. That's the way I would explain. If I am in a dark, heavy place, the last thing I need is another dark thing on top to add to my darkness already. So the response that the person would get would not be the response that would potentially be beneficial to them.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to be in a certain place and space, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and be fully there and present and responding to your message. So it's for your own benefit. And you know that saying, patience is a virtue, that good things come to those who wait. That's exactly what it is. If you're able to wait and be patient, then you are going to get magic and gold.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it doesn't, you don't want us just reacting. You don't want us just knee jerk reaction. Oh, here's what I got.
Fast response.
Yeah. Like sometimes I'll do it all. I'll pick a day, get high because my plant medicine helps me to put on the coach hat sometimes, and that's what people are sending me messages for. They want me in the coach hat. I'm not in the. Typically only wearing my coach hat when I'm coaching. The rest of the day, I'm Rachel, being me. Just like with my own emotions, my own like bliss and grief and everything in between. So if you really want me responding from that place of unconditional love and detached involvement and wisdom, I might need to take a week, or however long, so that I can dig deep into the experience of what is on the other side, and center myself, and be impeccable. I prefer to be impeccable with my word when someone is reaching out for help, so that it's not coming from a place, if it's coming from a place where if I'm responding and I'm experiencing scarcity or need or lack, then who knows what's going to come out.
Yeah.
I want to be responding from my place of fullness and abundance, so that I am responding from my overflow. And the person on the receiving end wouldn't want to drain me. They wouldn't want to drain us. If they knew they were draining us, they wouldn't be reaching out for help. And I'm so grateful that people do reach out for help. I advocate for it all the time. If you're really in the struggle, reach out. Please reach out.
Yes.
And you're worth it. And I believe everybody is worth it. I am, until everybody becomes coaches and hires their own coaches. I am just me. Like Yana, you are just you. There's a finite supply of the personal. So when we can separate, withdraw from the chaos and draw from the infinite source energy, then we've got all this abundance to share. And maybe we can answer 3 people from that before we need to recharge again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. I also encourage everyone that feels like they need to and want to reach out to one of us. Don't hold back. Just because we share this with you does not mean, oh, I'm not going to add to it. No. Again, you're telling yourself you're not worth it. You are. So reach out, start a conversation. If it takes us time to respond, you know why. And it has nothing to do with you. It's just us making sure that we are ourselves. That's, I guess, the best way to explain that we are ourselves, our full, authentic self. My goal in life and my mission for Empathy Unicorn Academy is to help everyone live their life authentically so they can feel free and achieve more. But here's the thing, none of us are able to live our life as our authentic self 100% of the time. Here's the reason why. Because our authentic self would not be going to level ones and twos, right? This is where we start to question our authenticity. So those are the times that I have recognized that for me, this is my downtime. This is I need to sit down with myself and center myself because I'm not myself. I have been thrown off for whatever reason. And for the most part, it's actually because I have shared or have deepened the connection with someone, or I've had very deep conversations and they were just so incredible. Perfect example, on Friday, I have reconnected with one of my friends who was hardcore level two. We haven't hung out in person for over a year. And on Friday, we got to hang out. And again, having gone through IPAC, I've learned that when I see that the seeds that I planted have grown, I don't point them out. So I see so many seeds, and I got to see so many seeds that I planted that she is now understanding and embodying and living them and saying them as they are her ideas. And I'm like, yes, oh my God, like that's all I want. Own them. They're your ideas. Even if they were put there by me, maybe it was somebody else as well, right? Heard them from me, from somebody else, and eventually it just becomes more part of you. Doesn't matter where it came from. At the end of the day, I've seen the tremendous growth she's gone through during COVID, and I had such a deep connection with her that I have not had thus far, and we've been friends for 5 years. And I was just like, wow, this was incredible, this was awesome. And I took the weekend to recharge because it was powerful.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not that I was drained, it's that I was like, I don't know, like I felt love and joy and peace, and I felt great. And I needed to sit with that.
Yeah. Yep. It's just like an expression of energy. Like
Yeah.
that, yeah. Well, that's so beautiful. I'm so excited for you and your friends.
Thank you.
I love like when that happens. Like that just shows that there's no need to label each other. And one of the comments that came up in our group coaching last week or on Thursday, um we were talking about who we are when we're at level 2, and one in the group was like, when I'm at level 2, I boil people down and label them as one, like, this two-dimensional idea. And it makes it really hard to perceive growth in someone. And so that's just so beautiful to be able to see that.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people in my life were telling me, oh, just, give up, let her go. And at the end of the day, it wasn't me holding on to her, and it wasn't me fully letting go of her, but it was just really letting go of my attachment to the fear of losing a friend, uh, or attachment to her journey,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like she's gonna go on her own journey, her own way, and whatever it brings her. It might bring us back together, it might not, but I'm not going to be attaching myself to it. And I'm also not going to be fully detaching myself from it either.
Sounds like detached involvement.
Right? Exactly. It's like I guess another way to explain is you take a ball and you throw it in the room. It's like, well, we'll see what happens.
Dropping seeds.
Right? And not having an attachment. And like, for example, with the ball, I want to throw this ball with the intention of it bouncing off this spot on the wall or going in the pot here or breaking a window or whatnot. Right? It's just like throw the ball, that seed, and see where it lands, see where it goes, because it's gonna go where it's meant to go. And that is a hard thing to master, to not hold attachment to. I want this seed to grow because I've given that seed to my friend, and I want this one to grow because this is a powerful seed. Yeah, it is. It's a powerful seed for me.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for her. She's gonna have her own garden, her own farm, if she wants, right? And when we give seeds, wisdom, knowledge, tools, ideas, inspirations, anything that's really a seed, a golden nugget, what they do with it is not up to us.
Yeah. And it's none of our business. And it doesn't really have anything to do with us, because when we share wisdom, the wisdom didn't come from us in the first place. It came through us. Mm-hmm. So it's not ours. We don't own it. So when we share it, for example, like at the beginning of this call, we were talking about Greg Braden. The number of times I've talked about the heart brain, like the heart having 40,000 neurons, and using knowledge as a way to give the heart permission to tell the brain what to do. Pretty sure I got that from Greg Braden, but I'm not positive. And who knows where he got it. We all got it from the same source, but I've shared it and shared it and shared it. So yeah, that it really has nothing to do with us. We're here as vessels. Yeah. Like the wisdom comes through when we're an open channel, a vessel, and we can share that at when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah.
And then detach, like Yoda.
Exactly. It just reminded me of this phrase, and I don't have very clear memory of what this phrase goes, but it's something along the lines that when we listen to the masters in our life, that it comes to a point where we become that master and we use the words of our master as our own and not know where it actually came from which master that we've been listening and following. It's kind of like the same idea of the same thing I was just talking about my friend, where a lot of these things that she was talking about, I talked about, and I could be the level 2 and say, I give those to you. Those were my ideas. Finally, you heard me, right? Finally, you listened to me. But then again, it's not mine. It came from somewhere else. I don't know from where, but it came from somewhere else along my journey that I listened to. And she had her own journey. She heard these things before. She heard them from me, and then she continued hearing them from elsewhere, right? And again, the other possibility is very possible that there's sometimes when our memory fails us, where we think we've said something to someone, but we never actually said it. We said it in our minds that we wanted to say it, but we remember it as saying it. So that's the other part of it. So to me, that's I'm like, it's not mine. It's hers, and she is her own master. It doesn't matter where she's getting it from. What matters is that she is getting closer to the life that she actually wants to live, especially knowing where she's come from a mother who did not want her and did not shy away from telling her that. And has a completely different relationship with her daughter now. Right? One of the things that she was sharing with me is the labels. How, when we call someone a certain word without recognizing it, then it affects them and they really start being that way. Because we've told them they are, so they believe it and they become that. And I know I talked about it many times. I don't remember if I talked to her about it, but I know I talked about it all the time with anyone I possibly could, especially when I started realizing these things. But at the end of the day, again, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. What matters is that she's living the life that she wants, and it is reflecting onto her family as well. She's shifting herself, and that shift is enough for everybody else to shift themselves as well.
That's energy leadership in action. Fuck yeah, she's becoming a leader.
Exactly,
And it's
right?
so true. Like when probably the greatest lesson we learn as coaches is that it's not about us. The growth, the excavation that's going on, our clients are doing. So anytime our clients think it's us, we have our ways to be like, this is you, you're doing it. So if we ever feel like we need credit, there's probably something deeper going on. I know for me, I can speak for myself. If I ever attach and want credit, it's because somehow that will make me feel safe to then express and share in the future. So that's how I know if I'm seeking credit, or I want, if there's the energy in me that's saying, I said that 2 years ago, why aren't you giving me credit for this? It's because I have still an unhealed wound that's afraid to speak truth until people realize that my intuition all along was accurate, and
Yeah.
you, something like that. So I know that that goes on for me sometimes when I want credit. It's coming from a place of, if they remember that this came from me, the next time I share wisdom or truth, it'll be safer. And there's no guarantee that it's ever going to be safe. So that's on me to make sure I feel safe internally, and just continue sharing, and then just celebrate when other people start accessing that wisdom and are experiencing revelations. Just champion them and support them, and point out their growth. It's so cool. It's just such a pleasure, a gift, watching people in our lives grow and evolve, because I believe we're all getting to the same place.
Yeah.
Where credit won't even be a thing, because we'll all just be there.
Yeah, I hear the word credit as external validation,
Yeah.
that we're all humans, and we still once in a while do want to hear that validation that we're doing the right thing. So it's
Mhm.
nice to hear it. So I'm not saying don't praise us for doing an awesome job by asking questions and helping you to work on yourself and bring out what's in there. But at the end of the day, we can't take credit for that because the answers are not mine, not ours, right? The answers that you give are not mine. And very rarely are they ever anything that I would have even thought were going to come out of people's mouths. So that right there is, it's all you
Yeah.
as the client. But everyone has been programmed to seek that external validation, to tell us that we're doing a good job, that we are a good girl or a good boy. These ones are from a very young childhood, right? Such a good girl. Good job, Yana. Oh, that's not good. That's bad. You're a bad girl, right? And this is where we want to be good. And we grow up wanting to be a good girl and doing everything we can. This is where the people pleaser comes from as well, because it comes from wanting to be a good girl and not be labeled a bad girl. You don't respond to messages right away, you're a bad girl.
Yep.
To you, yeah, but to me, I've learned that I'm a good girl when I don't respond to messages because I listen to the person that matters most in my life, and that's myself. Because without me, my family wouldn't be here, right? The way that they are. And if I'm not fully available to them, that will affect them, right? And the family, to me, in this house, right? The kids and the pets as well. So external validation is something that all of us are seeking, but the less that we seek it and the more that we focus on the inside and give it to ourselves, because really external validation is just asking for approval to give that validation from inside out. So instead of asking for approval, you give it to yourself and it comes from within without having to beg someone, without actually begging them for it. And that is a hard thing to do the first couple of times, like anything. Riding a bike is I mean, very few children get on the bike and ride it right away. Some find it very difficult, right? But that's where it starts. It starts from the beginning. Just try it out, see how it fits, try it again, and then eventually it will just be a part of you and how you show up.
Yep, absolutely. Wow, this has been amazing as always.
I know, lost all track of time again. I'm like looking at the time, like, wow, we've been on here for 2 hours and 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Time flies. I feel like we've only been here for 40 minutes. And I like look at the time, like, ooh, yeah. So those of you that are still here with us, listening or watching, congratulate yourself. Like, this is an achievement. It is an achievement, right? Some people like to do this. Some people like to clap. I like to clap, right? And I know you like to do. I can only snap with one hand. The other one I can't.
Yeah.
I can do it with one hand.
Yeah. I got some sound out of my right. Left is kind of.
Yeah. I have no sound. This is my sound. Nothing. It's loud, right? But that's why I like to clap. And it doesn't have to be loud, but just like clap. That's congratulating. And some people like to soothe themselves like this and say good job, or a hug, or like, yeah, good job. It honestly depends on how your parents used to praise you.
One of my favorites now, because of the I Am Enough workshop, is going, I am lovable. That's one that never ceases to fill me up, because I never thought about saying that before. So now when I say it, I still have some resistance, but then I say it, and it's
Yeah. Many of us will have resistance with it because this is not something that was said to us. And this is that internal validation that we give to ourselves, right? If we wait for someone to come and tell us that we are lovable, we might be waiting forever because we don't even know how to say it and what we want. But it comes from within.
Yeah.
Right?
This is so wild, like how hard it is to feel lovable.
Yeah, it is.
What?
Right?
Right? So like, damn, we're hard on ourselves. We can't even feel lovable. Like we're fucking here on Earth. Damn.
And how lucky are we to be actually born here now with this consciousness out of all the other possibilities?
Oh my God. We would, if this had been 200 years ago, we would not be able to speak about the kinds of things we would be tried as witches and burned at the stake. So I am so grateful to have incarnated at this point in space and time with all my sisters, being able to howl at the moon and be weird and wild.
My husband thinks it's so weird. We haven't driven for a while, but last year when we drove in the car and it was a full moon, I'm like looking at the moon. He's like, "Are you looking at the moon?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm holding a howl back." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "No." It's for now. Oh my God, Yana. I'm like, "Kids, come on, let's go. Let's howl together. Look at the moon."
Yeah, we're wild animals.
It's fun. And it just like I invite my child self in because the adult would be like, "Oh my God, no, don't do that. Only kids do that." And again, the cause of separation between the self and between the child self, whereas we are one. And just something so silly as howling at the moon is so freeing.
Yes.
And grounding, it's like, yeah, okay, I can howl. Okay, I survived that.
Like it's awesome throat chakra medicine. Like, oh, I made that sound. Who
Yeah.
knew that was in me?
Yeah, I used to howl with my dogs all the time. Let's go howl, guys. But I don't want to teach this one to howl, because if she learns how to howl, it's like when a child discovers their voice, they'll continue to use their voice. When a dog discovers their howling, they can continue to howl. And uh, having gone through, I know I shared with you when we had a beagle and our daughter tried to speak and the beagle would howl, that would bring me back into that time where he wasn't in a good place, right? And I was in a good place, and our daughter stopped speaking entirely because of the howling and because of the stress that she felt with this situation. And she felt like she was the cause of that, even at that age. And it was very, once I started paying attention, it was very noticeable. So she completely would be quiet, so little, and shows clear evidence of being an empath.
Yep.
Sensing the energies of, okay, who's causing all this? Me. Okay, I'll stop. Without recognizing that.
Yeah.
It took me years to figure that out, to understand what I was seeing, what I was witnessing. Right? It takes us time to learn these lessons.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Time, again, is just, we doesn't exist, I guess. That's the way to describe it. That's another label that we put. Right now it's like 113. That's a label that I put on this exact moment right now and here. But in reality, it's just random numbers, right?
Yeah. It's just a now. It's a now that we're having.
Yeah.
We'll have a future now sometime.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, anyways, it's been a long chat and I loved it. It has, my energy went from level 1 and level 3, that's where I was, to now level 6. I'm like, ooh, what am I going to do with these overflow that I have?
Hell
At
yeah.
the same time, without draining all of it, because that can also happen if we're not paying attention to how much we're giving and giving and giving, and not pausing to, check ourselves.
Exactly.
And see, okay, I think this is good. When you're talking about when you get a lot of messages, well, today maybe I'll respond to 3 people. Tomorrow I'll respond to other people, right? That is right there, you checking yourself and saying, okay, 3 is good for me today. Tomorrow might be 5. Right? But I need to make sure that tomorrow I actually have some energy left. And for the rest of the day, I have energy left for myself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for this awesome podcast, which is once again full of so much wisdom, so much gold, so much stuff. Like, I know many people take this kind of stuff, package it up, and sell it. And this is available for free to anyone that wants to listen for something, or for 2 people talk and share all this gold for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right? On this video. Some are shorter.
Yeah. It's all love. Just our love.
Yeah, love is all there is. It says so on my piece of paper.
That's it.
That's it. So thank you. And thank you everyone for listening and watching. If you like what you hear and see, or hear or see, please pass it along to somebody who might benefit from it, that you know, or will benefit from it. And also subscribe, like, and share. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for the thumbs up.
I love the thumbs up. I'm a big fan of the thumbs up. Ever since life on Zoom became more normalized, I'm often on mute going.
Yeah, exactly. And I think my favorite thing on Facebook when people like on posts is the heart.
Yeah.
It's also due to algorithm, but that's a whole different conversation. So other than that, that's it. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, we shall see each other again. Thank you. There's the heart. There's mine.
Yeah.
There we go. So,
Bye.
thank
Much
you.
love.
Much love. And until next week. Bye.
Bye.